Housebroken Clothing and ClassicSci-Fi.com have joined forces to present the ultimate in classic science fiction-inspired apparel. All shirts are hand-printed here in the USA. Everyone loves the luxurious feel of these shirts. The prints are lightweight with soft inks, making them the perfect combination of style and comfort. Each shirt is unique and meticulously cared for during production. They are then inspected, approved, and signed by the artist himself. All this plus free shipping. They've got Frankenstein shirts, Night of the Living Dead shirts, UFO shirts, all sorts of shirts. They're great shirts. Check out the shirts today at ClassicSci-Fi.com. Welcome to the Smug Film Podcast. This is the second episode. I am Cody Clark. I am the host, as you probably know if you have heard the first episode. With me today is Jenna Ipkar.
Hello.
And Ned Martin.
How do you do?
All right, we are here today to talk about movie theaters, movie theater experiences, good movie theaters in the city, anything movie theaters. That's the topic, right, guys?
Yes.
Got it.
What are your favorite movie theaters in the city? Let's talk about that first.
Favorite movie theater? I mean, I feel like New York City just has theaters that are just more usable than they are wonderful theaters. Like, I go to IFC all the time because they have cool movies. I go to, like, Film Forum, same reason, but they're kind of junky theaters, you know, physically.
Yeah, that's true. There isn't, like, really... I'm trying to think of one that's, like, really gorgeous. I mean, the Pavilion, when it first opened up here in Park Slope, like ages and ages ago when we were all kids, that was a pretty beautiful theater because you had the balcony thing.
Yeah.
It was a 2-theater movie theater.
Yeah, the Saunders Theater.
Is that what it was called?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like a sort of Moorish design.
Yeah, it had this great balcony. That's where I saw the Star Wars things when they brought those back before, you know, Phantom Menace and all that.
Right. So that theater closed. The Saunders Theater closed in the 70s. And then it reopened as the Pavilion. And that happened in the 90s. And that's my number one memory of it was having that balcony still. They kept it for a while. They only had a couple of theaters and that balcony. And then they realized that they weren't making enough money for it. But then I remember seeing the Phantom Menace. And that was actually a great movie experience. I have
absolutely.
that, like, so standout. Like, everyone was so into it, and like, what a crappy movie.
Well, that was a weird one because I don't think people really knew how they felt about it just right yet. Like, that was kind of one where, like, people sat on it and then they had their opinions about that. Do you remember when you saw that one?
Yeah, I felt like that movie was almost like the equivalent of driving really fast in a car. And, you know, you slam into a wall, but your body just keeps on moving through a windshield. So, like, you know what I mean? It's like you have all these great expectations and hopes for this movie, and then you actually see the movie, which is a brick wall smashing your car. And, but, you know, you still don't know how you feel as your body goes through the windshield. You're like, well, I still am moving. And then eventually you kind of come down and you're like, that movie is terrible.
Yeah, that was like a slow burn as far as, like, how bad it was, I think. I think, like... too, we were kind of biased because we were pretty young.
Right.
You know, we were kind of like trusting the adults that made it and the adults that took us that, like, you know, they wouldn't put us through this if it was really bad, right? You know, they wouldn't screw this up that terribly.
That's exactly it. I think both of you are dead on.
I actually think that movie's so bad, it makes the other movies way worse than they were initially. All of them.
All of them, the 4, 5, 6,
yeah,
too.
All of them, yeah. I can't watch any of them now, probably because of the Phantom Menace.
It's that tainted, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I see what you're saying, too, because it's like if for the majority of your life, you thought that a story began at a certain point, and then all of a sudden you're a certain age, you're like 14, 15, or 13, or however, I don't even remember how old I was when I saw it. You find out that wasn't the beginning, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's, you know, why not begin with Luke Skywalker? You know what I mean? Like, what a great beginning. And then all of a sudden it's like, no, you know, we'll start off with these other guys. You know what I mean? One of them, I don't even know his name. He's played by Liam Neeson. And you're like, what? Who is this guy? You know what I mean? And it's like, here's Obi-Wan Kenobi. And then there's this little kid and this other fucking thing with big ears, you know? It's like, I don't know about this, dude.
It's funny about Liam Neeson too, because like when he was in that, everyone was like, "Who is this guy?" You know, but now he's like the action guy.
Yeah.
If he had been in it now, everyone would have been like, "Kick ass, Liam Neeson in a Star Wars movie."
Right. Back then they were like, Schindler's List?
Yeah.
A Star Wars movie?
Really?
All right.
I remember the Pavilion. A positive one is I saw Office Space with my mom in the theaters at the Pavilion. It was us and like maybe 2 other people. This is way. I mean, Office Space didn't really hit as like a movie that people understood was awesome until it hit on VHS and stuff.
Definitely.
So it was like we were watching this like special little movie that we knew was amazing. And anytime we told people about it after we saw it, like everyone was like, yeah, you know, they didn't believe us. They thought it was like something like just this throwaway movie that nobody would think of.
That happened to me in Salem, Massachusetts. They used to have a dollar theater. And it was sort of like in a mall. It was a real like kind of grungy mall, and it was a weird. It was almost like a grindhouse, like a throwback to like the grindhouse days. But they would play Hollywood movies, and it would just cost $1. I don't know how they stayed in business, but I went to go see The Edge. Remember The Edge? Is that with Anthony Hopkins and Alec Baldwin and the bear?
Yeah, I think that is what it's called.
The Edge,
yeah.
right?
The David Mamet script.
Yeah,
one.
and I remember just walking into that movie being like, I forget who dragged me to the movie, but I was like, I can't believe I'm going to go see The Edge, you know, for $1. But because it was $1, I went, and it was just, I was like blown away by this movie. I was like, oh my god,
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Terror, yeah.
Did you ever see that one, Jenna?
No.
It's
It's
worth
weird because like it's Mamet, but it's like 2 guys, and it's like a thriller kind of action kind of thing where they're trying to escape a bear in the woods. But it's not like they're having like Mamet stilted dialogue, you know? They're like mostly running around and doing stuff. But it hits a weird balance where like there are those kind of Mamety lines. And it's a kind of like a weird movie. It's hard to put into like a category or a box because of that. Because
Right.
it has that tinge of Mamet, but it also, you know, there were a ton of those movies like in the late 90s that kind of...
Exactly. Yeah.
That was like a time for like the woods and things happening in the woods. Did you notice that? Like,
Yeah.
And we've sort of come back to that with like, I guess the Hunger Games and Twilight and stuff. But there was a patch in like the 90s where like every movie had to happen with something in the woods. There must have been some huge tax break for shooting in the woods at a certain point in the late 90s.
Wasn't it just for Canada? And then there's really
Probably
nothing
was,
else in
yeah.
Canada.
Yeah, so they were like,
Bam!
we'll write a
Oh.
wood scene. But I remember like every coming of age story about kids had to have something in the woods. You know, a lot of the action stuff like, you know, The Fugitive or whatever, you know.
Right. A lot of woods in that.
A lot of running through the woods. I never thought of that until just now. That was and then nothing. No woods after that for a long period of time.
Starting to get back to the woods, I think.
Yeah, we got to get better tax breaks for the woods.
Well, they have all those tax breaks now in Michigan. I know about.
Right. And Louisiana. That's become the new LA, ironically, you know, because the postal thing is LA. And everybody, all the people in LA are shooting in LA, but the actual LA, Louisiana.
I'm just staring at
Which is
Cody
crazy.
shaking my head.
It's crazy, right? That's like a weird thing.
It is a weird
If you wrote
thing.
that in the script, it would be like, that's too on the nose. You can't use that. Nobody's going to believe that. That the people in LA are going to go shoot in a place called LA because they can't afford to shoot in LA. You change that in the script, right?
Yeah, I would. Actually, you know, well, Michigan, I went to school in Ann Arbor, and they have the Michigan Theater, I think it's called, actually. I don't remember. Big, like, gorgeous, like, gilded, you know, like 1920s theater. And that's what I kind of wish we had in New York more of. It must exist somewhere. But I remember, I got to see Wings there, like the 1920 Wings.
I thought you meant the 90s television show.
That one, too. It was a two-parter.
Wow, yeah.
But
That's a good
Wings was-
double feature.
Wings was awesome because they had a live Wurlitzer and that's just a cool movie. I don't know if you guys seen it. Really
Yeah,
good.
I've heard that's great. That's the airplane one, right?
Yeah, it's like World War I airplane dogfight kind of movie
Yeah.
where they actually you know, crash these planes. You know, it's like this great stunts, but it's also sort of like strangely homoerotic. I found.
Will they ever make a plane movie that isn't slightly
true.
Homoerotic? It
It's
seems
like
like
Top Gun.
they start out with all the best intentions, and they're like, "We're gonna make a good, honest plane movie." Whether it's Top Gun or Red Tails or something, and then somewhere along the way, just homoeroticism seeps in as the subtext.
This one, it's about two guys who both love the same woman. It's like Clara Bow or someone, like really good looking woman, and they go to war, and then they find that the true love is with each other.
There you
Not
go.
really, but it kind of is.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Film Forum you touched on. I saw King Kong at the Film Forum with John D'Amico, and it blew me away. The print, I don't know what the fuck print they had of it, but it was pristine, it was gorgeous, and it was huge. I mean, giant square screen right in front of your face. King Kong, that's the way to see King Kong, because you really need that scale to him. When you're watching it on a TV or something, he's just this little guy, and there's other little guys running around on the ground around him. When you see it in a movie theater, that's one of those movies where it's such a movie theater movie, because you really have to look up at it. Like, I would even suggest if you're watching it on TV at home, just get yourself on like the floor and look up, because you need that physical experience of just the way it's shot. It's just shot up. And then I loved seeing that at the Film Forum. It blew me away. This was like a year or so ago. And then it was playing at BAM like 2 weeks later. And I went to see it again. And it was the shittiest fucking print. And I didn't have the same experience whatsoever. And it's like, man, the theater experience, it adds so much. And until you really see it side by side like that, you never realize how much that affects it. Like, if I had told somebody, dude, you have to go see King Kong at BAM. I saw it at the Film Forum. It was amazing. You got to just go. And I told somebody to go see it. They would have come back to me and been like, yeah, it was all right. It was pretty cool. But just at Film Forum, it was like incredible.
Actually, BAM is a gorgeous theater. Maybe that's about as close as we have.
And I've seen great movies at BAM.
Right.
But for some reason, that print was just junky.
That's the worst. That's like the worst thing. Or when they just have like digital prints that are just shit too, of these movies that really need to be seen as they were intended to be seen.
That's a problem with BAM, is sometimes you don't know what you're in for. And not specifically on BAM, but whenever they play older movies at the theater, you don't know if the print's going to be good, how great the restoration was, if there was any restoration, if it's a digital like 4K thing, or you don't know what you're getting into a lot of these times. So you're kind of taking a chance on if it's going to be gorgeous or not.
But I think there's sort of there's something to be said for seeing like a print that's not really in the best shape too. Like, I remember seeing an original print, I think from '86, of Blue Velvet, and it was in very good shape at all. But it was, to me, it was almost like I got excited about seeing that print. Do you know what I mean? Even though I've seen it on Blu-ray much better. And I think I saw an old strange print of one of the most interesting experiences I had was I saw Friday the 13th Part 3 in its original 3D print, and it was pink and red, and you know what I mean, kind of the audio was skip and sync and stuff like that, but it was like amazing to see.
So it was very visceral.
Yeah, it gave me a whole different perspective on the movie.
Yeah, because that's kind of like the laughable one, of that group.
To see it in 3D is definitely a different,
Exactly.
They can't really replicate it. For some reason, they're not replicating what on like Blu-ray. You know how like they have like the red and blue glasses.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of like I think the Chump 3D, right? Like yeah. So like they for some reason they put it out on DVD or whatever with the Chump 3D.
Have either of you been to the Spectacle Theater in Williamsburg?
No.
No, there are a bunch of really good ones out there now, right? Like Nighthawk and...
Yeah, well, the Spectacle's kind of interesting because it's like someone bought a bodega, gutted it, hung a screen, and then screens really weird stuff. And that's a place where you go in there not expecting good quality, because most of the things that they play are just so off the fucking charts anyhow. But you get excited to see things because they look kind of gritty and shitty, and that this theater is just like crap. It's like, which isn't to say it's not a great theater, but it's totally like a mess. It's like BYOB. You like go to the corner shop, you like buy a 6-pack, and then you go like pay $5 and see a movie. I saw this movie there called White Star, which was like some 1980s German movie that had Dennis Hopper in it. And
wow.
It was really weird. Like I would recommend seeing it because it's absolutely insane. It's like basically about a guy who wants to be a famous singer in Germany, and Dennis Hopper is his manager. But like, that's really the only problem. Like, cause he's like talented and successful. And then he'll be like, well, if I work hard and I do my job, then we'll get there. And Dennis Hopper's like, no. He's like, break into the office and steal the money. If you steal the money, we'll get there. And then like, it basically just everything Dennis Hopper does just fucks this poor guy up. And like, they make it seem like, oh, he's struggling and blah, blah. It's like, no.
He's
like,
got a shitty manager.
You have a terrible manager.
You got a 1980s Dennis Hopper sort of managing your career.
He's like totally on LSD.
I'd be scared to fire Dennis Hopper if he was my manager.
Yeah.
He's clearly like not on script. He's just rambling. There's one scene where he's literally just rolling around on the floor, like talking about like whatever. Like it's the craziest movie.
That sounds pretty good. Yeah.
It's kind of amazing.
Like
because by the end of it, you realize the only problem was Dennis Hopper. Like there would have been no issue otherwise.
Oh man!
But that was cool. I mean, they have some interesting things there. They screen cool stuff. The Nighthawk is cool too. They show interesting things. I don't know if you guys have been there either.
I haven't been there yet, but there are a bunch that popped up in the last couple of years around over there that I haven't really gotten a chance to explore.
I think actually, what are your opinions on these theaters like the Alamo Drafthouse or Nighthawk that serve food, like full meals? Like I like, it's kind of interesting to me. Like I know when The Hobbit came out, they were doing like real Lord of the Rings style, like you get several meals like the way a Hobbit would as you're watching the movie, which I thought was really cool. I didn't go to it, but I thought it was really neat. But I never want to eat food and watch a movie.
Yeah, it seems like a kill two birds, one stone kind of thing. Like if you're going out to eat and you're going to go see a movie, like...
Really, if you're paying the babysitter, you might as well like do it all at once kind of thing.
Well, it seems like it's one of those things too where like you always run into that problem with like movie times where like maybe the movie's at a certain time, but you want to go eat, but you can't really get over there in time. So you got to eat really early or you got to eat really late afterwards. And like sometimes they play at like a weird time where you run into that problem. And I guess that's like avoiding that. But also like I like seeing my food when I'm eating.
Yeah.
You know? Like, sure. I don't like eating in the dark. You don't know what's in there. No. It could be like what if a fly is in your soup and you're in the theater? You're not going to know.
Or even just, you got to make a choice. Every bite, you got to make a choice between movie or food.
That's true.
I don't want to make that choice.
No.
Although, I don't want to knock anything until I try it because I have spoken to some people that I respect what they have to say about movies. Not so much food, but they said that they enjoyed the experience.
And I guess you don't have to eat. You can just kind of go there. But then you're around everybody who's eating.
Yeah, you're listening to forks. Man. Clanking around and stuff.
I've definitely been there, but I've also not eaten. I think about the drinking I can understand, but at the same time I agree. Like I either want to watch a movie or I want to eat a meal. Like I don't want to do both.
One of the great things about watching a movie and then going out to eat afterwards is you can talk about the movie.
Right.
And there's no opportunity to talk about the movie if you're doing it at the same time.
One thing have you ever seen Diary of a Country Priest?
No.
It's a Bresson movie from like the early 50s or something like that. And the movie is almost just dead silent. Like there's some dialogue in there, but not a whole lot. And there's no music and really no sound effects to speak of. And it's basically just people, the whole ambiance is like silent. And I just remember going to the movie theater and I was watching it and I was behind like a couple of people and I took a sip of my drink. And sometimes when you take a sip of your drink, like it gets sort of like, it goes down the wrong way and you can almost hear it like going down. So basically it's just this dead silent movie theater and you could hear this like sip of Diet Coke like swirling down my esophagus into my stomach. And these girls like turned around and like stared at me and just laughed in my face as I sat embarrassed watching this Diary of a Country Priest. It was very slow and methodical with not much sound to speak of.
Yeah, it's always weird, like the foods that become movie theater foods, like based on their sound, really more than like whether they're good or not. You know, like popcorn. I used to always hear the thing of like popcorn's a good movie theater food, and it became a good movie theater food because it's not loud. And I'm like, have you ever met a popcorn bag in your life? Popcorn bags are the loudest device known to man, especially in the context of a dark, you know, kind of quiet theater.
Right.
The bag's pretty loud. You know, the popcorn, all right, fair enough. They're kind of keeping
It's
it themselves.
crunchy though.
Yeah, they're crunchy, but the bag is like, the bag's not on the same page. The bag didn't get the memo of how we should behave at a movie theater.
I don't care for the whole nacho revolution because, I mean, you're dealing with cheese and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah, cheese in an enclosed
yeah,
environment.
it's dark.
And it's not your cheese, it's somebody else eating the cheese.
Yeah.
It's just not a good vibe.
How about the worst people, like your worst theater experience? Because this is reminding me of in Cobble Hill theaters, having two people, I don't remember the movie, but these people were talking super loud before the movie started to the point where you were like, oh, like, fuck, this is going to happen continually. So I ended up moving, and then they turned around and poured their drinks on the seat behind them to get
What?
people to not sit there.
Oh my God.
And I
that's
was like, wow, what assholes.
assholes, but kind of brilliant. Like idiot savant level, kind of
Yeah.
like, actually, yeah.
I once yelled at, in England, actually, I yelled at somebody. Also, like, right, we were going to go see The Wind That Shakes the Barley, and for some reason, these, like, asshole teenagers were there. I don't know why. It's, like, the most depressing movie.
It's not even the title that would attract teenagers whatsoever.
No, it's
Like, there's no teenager that's like, we're going to see When the Chicks About. It reminds me of that Simpsons thing where, like, they all see the thing on the marquee that says Naked Lunch. And, like, all the kids, like, go in and see that. And it's, like, obviously completely different than they expected.
Right.
Well, I
yeah.
remember this kid, like, they were like cursing and yelling, and they threw a bottle at the theater, like at the screen right when it started. And so I decided, and like the movie was starting and no one was saying anything, everyone was too polite or something. So I broke all the cultural boundaries, and I was just like, "Hey kid, shut the fuck up!" Like as loud and as New York as I could, and it totally worked. But those kids waited for me after the movie ended, and I had to
no.
sneak out of the theater. Were they gonna beat you up or something?
I was worried. I thought they were going to steal my bike.
Give you an East End beatdown.
I just got out of there.
Yeah, I remember there, sometimes when people yell at movies, like, sometimes it's annoying, but sometimes it's like perfect, and like the entire crowd is like, yeah, that was perfect.
I love it.
There was this one moment where like I was seeing the new, not the new Superman, but the Superman Returns, I guess. And there's this guy next to me, and it was packed theater. And there's this one part in the movie where Lex Luthor, Kevin Spacey, I guess, he holds up like this green tube, but it's like a tube of kryptonite. It's just like a cylinder, He just holds it up, and he's talking about it or whatever. And the guy just yells out, "Superman condom." And it was just the perfect moment. It was like, it was Mystery Science Theater level perfect. Just, it was the perfect concept that a Superman condom would be just a giant, phallic cylinder of kryptonite. It was just a beautiful moment.
I love when people like yell shit out sometimes. It depends. It really depends. As long as they do it successfully, it's great. Like I saw Pacific Rim in theaters, and I don't even remember what the guy said or when he said it, but it was just someone being way overly enthusiastic about like this movie that I think the whole theater agreed was not good. Like,
yeah, I love that when when everyone turns on a movie. That's a perfect moment.
Exactly. And it was something like they said, well, like, what are we going to do? And they were like, not Gypsy Danger. And the guy goes, yeah.
What's not Gypsy Danger? I never saw that movie.
Oh, like the mechas, or they had one of them's named like Gypsy Danger Dance Hall or something. I don't remember. It was
Gypsy
so bad.
Danger sounds like a porno from the 70s. Like that's trying to capitalize on the whole disco thing or something.
It's Gypsy something. Did you see it? I don't remember.
I saw it, but I guess I don't remember a whole lot of it, actually. I just remember a lot of sort of close robot fighting. And it's funny because I remember reading reviews of it afterwards, and people saying like, this is great. Like Joe Dante was a big fan of that movie and wrote something like, interesting about it. and I was like, man, maybe I saw the wrong, you ever see a movie and people like write something like really interesting about it, and you're kind of like, I like that. What you just described sounds like ridiculously great, but like I just came from that movie.
It's like, is that the movie?
Yeah.
Is that the cut that I saw? Of it?
Yeah,
The wrong print.
yeah.
The great thing about Pacific Rim, and John D'Amico pointed this out to me like a couple weeks ago. He was like, dude, did you realize that that's the one movie that everybody on Smug Film doesn't like? Like every single writer for Smug Film, everybody just doesn't like that movie. That's the one uniting factor of the entire site. Like it should be called like the Society for people that don't like Pacific Rim and talk about movies that aren't that.
I was hyped for Pacific Rim. I really wanted to see it.
Everybody was hoping that would be good. I mean, Del Toro and giant monsters and all that seems like a fit, right?
Yeah, and it was such a letdown. It was so corny.
Yeah, it was almost like a Power Rangers movie. I didn't even know what it was about. I was like, oh, Pacific Rim.
Yeah, it's one of those titles where it's like, it could be like some boring Liam Neeson like submarine movie. Or
Right. I was actually hoping for a Liam Neeson movie halfway through. I was like, I wish Neeson showed up.
yeah.
Could use him in this one.
It's one of those titles where it sounds like a dad movie. Like one of those like boring, like kind of like Sunday afternoon on TV, kind of like guys in the military standing around talking about something that's going to happen like on a naval ship or something.
Right. It's like, what do you want to watch? Golf or Pacific Rim?
Oh man. Yeah, the thing of reading a review and it making something click in your head and you're wondering like, did you watch the same movie? I had that experience similarly to that with Dark Knight, where I put off seeing it for a really, really long time. And this was like the last week that it was going to be in theaters, and I went and saw it. So I'm in a theater with a bunch of people who are seeing it again because they love it. And I'm watching it, and I'm like, I'm waiting for what everybody was talking about with that one. I'm waiting to really connect to it and think, all right, this is the greatest superhero movie, or this is something really huge and significant. It just never clicked. I never clicked into it. And I don't know if it was because I missed the whole movie theater experience of seeing it one of the opening nights or something and everybody being like, all right, this is different. But I never connected to that movie. I never had that moment. Did you guys like that movie?
Yeah, I thought it was.
Yeah.
I thought it was okay.
How about you, Jenna?
That's the third one, right?
No, it's the second one, right?
I don't know. It's controversial. I feel like, in my opinion, is that I had good acting, but it didn't do it for me.
Yeah.
I thought that, honestly, I mean, my order is I really liked the first one a ton. The second one was okay.
We're talking about the Nolan ones.
Yeah, the Nolan ones. The second one was okay, and I didn't like the third. And
How about you? What's your sort of...
I think with any of them, I think that the third one had the most sort of apparent problems. And it was very long and almost incomprehensible. I think that they're all potentially like very interesting, but the more you kind of look at any of them, like the less it may, you know what I mean? It's just like, oh, it's a fucking superhero. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's always like that shit. It's like, oh yeah, no, he's talking about, the Joker has some pretty interesting motivation, and it's like, oh wait, no, he's a fucking Batman villain. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
And so, like, the more you kind of dig into that stuff, it just seems like a series of scenes that are kind of strung together to me that are sort of like smoke and mirrors. Like, if you don't think about it too much, it's really cool. But once you start to think about it, you're like, well, maybe not. Maybe it's not so great. That's my thought.
No, I think I'm on the same page. You probably liked the middle one more than I did. I couldn't really connect. I liked the first one when I saw it. The Batman Begins.
Right.
I liked that when I saw it. I never bothered with the third one. After the second one, I just wasn't feeling it.
I don't think you need to bother with the third. I'm getting sick of all these superhero movies, even though I'm inclined to like superhero movies. Like it's not that I'm anti it, but I'm getting bored with, I don't know. I feel like they're also, it's that car crash. I think that's the theme here for me, at least, is like, you go in there and you're hyped about it and you really like it. And then later on, you're like, no, that wasn't that good.
The thing with these superhero movies that pisses me off, like I like when you look at comic books, they have like a lot of great color and a lot of like kind of fun and cheesiness about them. I feel like, and
yeah, and it's all about the composition, really.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, it's like 30 pages, or at least when I was a kid, they were like 30 pages. And, you know, there was no beginning and no end. It was like a soap opera. And I feel like when you go to these movies, it's like every single time, it's like, oh, you know, how did Batman actually begin? It's like, who gives a shit? Like, what are you talking about?
It's a very simple concept.
Yeah,
Guy
like,
in a bat suit.
He doesn't like fucking bad guys. You know what I mean? Like, what more do you need to know about this guy?
It's not like we have to sort of get on board with his motivation. We don't like bad guys either.
Yeah.
That's kind of the thing of, you know, bad guys in general.
Yeah. I mean, unless you happen to be a bad guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're just in the movie like, nah, I don't like this guy.
It's almost like the movie is for bad guys.
Right.
Because it's like, I understand that, you know, the whole him fighting bad guys is something that's going to be difficult for you to understand. But maybe if you understand that, like, when he was a kid, he had a really hard time, okay? And that's why he doesn't like bad guys. Like, you're selling us on a concept that's so inherent and so... It's like you can't even use the word trope for it because it's just literally just good versus evil, you know?
I mean, it's like, if you get in there and you see this dude that's like mega rich and he's got all kinds of like cars and helicopters, like you're automatically like, all right, let's see this guy. You know what I mean? What kind of crazy trap is like the Riddler going to throw him in, you know?
Yeah.
That's what I'm wondering. Like, all right, let's see some interesting things here. But it's like, no, you see, he studied Kung Fu and with Ken Watanabe or whatever his name is. It's like, all right.
I like that you nailed it. I like that you got his name perfect.
Did I?
I think you did, actually.
I don't even think I've ever heard it pronounced before.
Yeah.
That was just me sort of hoping for the best on that one. But yeah, those superhero movies, you know. But those things are crazy. Like, you go to a movie theater to see that, like you were saying, with The Dark Knight or whatever. Like, I remember I went to see The Dark Knight, I think, when it opened, and there were people dressed up as the Joker. And I'm like, you guys haven't even seen this movie yet. It's almost like...
You don't want to be dressed like the Joker if it ends up sucking.
Yeah, like, what about... like the dudes that went as Arnold Schwarzenegger when the Batman and Robin came out? You know, those guys left the theater kind of like...
It's a long walk to the car.
Walking home in the poison ivy outfit.
It's like going to a baseball game and like the team loses and you're walking out in the uniform.
Yeah. It's like, oh, my team's really terrible.
Yeah.
I was in the promotional stuff for... I actually like that more than that movie, was all the pre... Like all the getting people riled up for Harvey Dent. They were like having actual rallies and they were giving out free shirts and stuff.
I remember that. I forgot about that.
Buttons,
I was in like
vote for Harvey Dent and stuff.
Yeah, and I was in like the Comcast promotion. They interviewed me. They were like, "What do you think about Harvey Dent?" I was like, "Oh my god, he's so cute," and they totally used it. That was fun. I like that part.
That's wonderful.
And yeah, you leave the movie, you're like, "Oh, now I have this Harvey Dent shirt." Well, oh well.
Right.
Yeah. Of all the characters to like create the buzz around, it's like they didn't go for the Joker thing. They went for Harvey Dent.
They were trying to do like elections.
I guess, yeah.
And it was a whole thing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I would have been like, I don't know. I don't really like his stance on crime personally.
His thing, you know, when he came out against gay marriage, like that really threw it from me. When there was that scandal with Harvey Dent tapping his foot in the bathroom at the airport, you know, that kind of...
You guys are closing all kinds of school programs and we're going to worry about crime.
Where are all those old Harvey Dent videos? Are those online or something?
I think I have a copy of it. I still have all my promotional stuff. It's fun. I had fun with it.
Maybe we can dig that up.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool.
We can all take turns wearing it.
I mean, if there's footage of you, you know, we want the people to see the footage.
Oh, right. Yeah, it might still be around.
We'll take a look. We'll dig through the vaults, the Jen Epcar vaults.
Speaking of the Jenna Ipcar vaults, I was...
I can't imagine that you have...
Yeah, wait, what?
No, but I read the thing you did on the Argento movie. And I was thinking about...
Oh, no, that was Chloe.
Oh, that was Chloe?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You can talk about that, too. That was a good piece.
Yeah, I thought...
That ties into the movie theater.
Yeah, that's the thing that I found interesting about it was that with Argento... I'm sorry that it wasn't you, by the way.
I love Argento, so we're good.
Okay, cool.
Jenna will be playing the role of Chloe for this evening's production of Smug Film.
Nice. But when it comes to Argento or those like Italian movies, for a long time, they'd be like released on VHS and stuff, and it would be like, oh, you know, you got 25 seconds of footage missing. This cut has the 3 minutes gone, and you're always like, what's that footage like? You know, like I got to see that footage. And as sort of formats progressed, and you know, DVD turns to Blu-ray, and this footage is recovered from Italy or whatever, and maybe it wasn't dubbed, and maybe it was, and they put together sort of the complete, like, this is what Dario Argento intended you to see. And you watch it, and it's, 3 minutes longer than the VHS that you saw, and that's all well and good, and like you get to see what his formal intentions are. But to see a movie like that in the theater and actually be able to like connect with the character and really respond to this character, like, what does that say about like his emotional intentions as opposed to these formal intentions?
Right.
Like, with me, like, I can watch an Argento movie and love him and this, that, and the other, but I don't know if I've ever really connected with any character in any of those movies. You know what I mean?
That's a good point. His characters, they're kind of there. They're kind of just a through line for the crazy ride that you go on. It's kind of like the Alice in Wonderland kind of thing.
I don't know anyone that was kind of like, oh, that Kyle Malden in The Cat o' Nine Tails was really well drawn, and like I really.
Well, that's a problem with a lot of the Giallo movies in general.
Yeah, but I don't know if I've ever seen any of those movies in the movie theater per se, but obviously Chloe, I guess, really responded to the fact.
Yeah, she had a great experience with it. If you guys haven't read that one yet, that went up a couple of days ago as of the time that we're recording it, but probably be a week or two ago when you guys hear this. But she wrote about seeing Phenomena with the Jennifer Connelly one, and just the dissonance of the metal soundtrack versus like the quiet action on screen, which people in the theater were interpreting as like a funny like mistake. Almost like, why would you put that music there? Whereas she responded to it like, no, yeah, absolutely. Because like the character was going through these motions where she was kind of like doing the right thing. Like she was like the rational one. She was like being careful and stuff. And it was almost like how metal it is to like do the right thing in a horror movie, like how rebellious that is.
Right.
I saw Inferno in the theater, the Argento one. And I think that was my first Argento outright. And that was really good in the theaters.
That reminds me, have you ever seen Possession?
I still haven't seen that one. I know you love that one.
I love that one. Yeah, 1980 with Sam Neill.
Sam Neill, Possession, an Australian movie?
And Isabel Adjani. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, that's always
name.
A fun name.
Yeah, that's a great movie, and that's something that I actually recently saw. I had seen it on my own, and then I recently saw it at BAM, and it was the same thing about people. People were laughing through the entire film, and when I first watched that movie, it's so out there. I love that movie. I can't even promote it enough, but it was so out there. Everyone was laughing so hard. And when I watched it the first time, I was like, this is crazy. Like, I watched it dead serious, totally into it. And there's so much to laugh at, but it never even occurred to me. And it's funny. Yeah, it's weird when you also have those theater experiences where you're totally not on board with everybody around you.
Yeah. I remember that happened with me and you, Jenna, when we saw The Comedy, the Tim Heidecker movie. The theater was treating it like they were watching Tim and Eric Awesome Show. Right. They were just laughing at everything. And that's, there are funny things in that movie. Did you see that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, there are funny things in it. But, it's pretty dramatic. And it's, the movie is, and this doesn't spoil anything, but it's about using humor as kind of like a buffer and going through your life with that as your buffer and not really connecting,
There's a step definitely between the humor in that movie. So, like, to laugh at that seems...
Oh, it was like
vastly inappropriate, kind
of. It was like a How I Met Your Mother kind of laugh track in that theater.
Yeah, that was totally, yeah. And the whole point of that movie, I agree with you, it was about like the hipster irony of like not actually living your life.
Right.
And not connecting.
Yeah, and I don't think the theater really was on that. And like, I think that colored my experience of it because I came out of it and we talked about it and I was like, I liked it, but I didn't really, I felt like I could have, if I was in the editing room, I could have cut like a movie that was like a 4.5 out of 5 for me. And the version that I saw was like a 3.5. But when I saw it later, when it was on DVD and I watched it again just at home, I was like, I'm totally on board with all of that. But I think the laughter kind of created these beats in the theater that like didn't really go along with the editing. And that was what made the editing wrong with me.
I feel like that movie is a very quiet movie and benefits from a home viewing.
Absolutely.
The dialogue in that movie is like completely unnecessary to a point. Like, it's basically there just he could be saying anything because whatever he says, he doesn't mean.
Exactly.
And that's sort of like the interesting thing about that movie, I felt, where like if you're seeing that with anybody else that you don't know, like their reactions are going to have a adverse effect on how you see it, I think.
That happened to me at BAM as well with the movie Snow Angels, the David Gordon Green movie. Did you guys ever see that one?
No.
Really, really good movie. But when I saw it in theaters, and this is like the most bizarre, this might be the most bizarre theater experience I ever had. But Sam Rockwell's in that movie, and he plays like a kind of a fuck up. And it's definitely a drama. There's some funny stuff in it, but it's definitely a drama. Whenever he was on screen, the theater was cracking up. Like, they thought he was like the funniest thing in the world. And there were a lot of like laugh moments in the movie. Because I think Amy Sedaris is in it too. And she's not playing like a Strangers with Candy role or something. Just playing like a straight up dramatic role. Theater was just eating it up like it was a comedy. And even the filmmaker, David and one of the actresses in the film came out afterwards, and they were like really weirded out by the response. They were like, this has never happened before. Like, this isn't a comedy. But people enjoyed the movie and like clapped afterwards and loved it. And that tainted my experience of it. I really loved the movie. I was kind of annoyed by the reaction stuff, but it's a great movie. But when I saw it like at home, it was like so brutally dramatic and so like it's a really fucked up movie. Not in like a, daring to be fucked up way, just in like a serious dramatic way. And seeing that at home, I really do like that experience of watching movies at home because you get that neutral experience. It's not relying so heavily on strangers that are next to you. And I think that's one of the benefits of this like VOD kind of revolution of being able to watch new movies at home, not have to put up with like a bunch of schmoes in the theater that might not be gelling with what's on screen and on board with your vibe with it. You can have these kind of organic reactions to movies in your home that you can't really have if you're going out to see the new movie in a theater.
That's true. I find that for the most part, there are movies that come out that I want to see in theaters, and then there are movies that come out that I think I'll rent it, or I'll figure out some way to watch it.
Well, that's a great option that you have now.
Yeah.
Whereas like these smaller movies that come on like IFC on demand or like these kind of like you pay like $3 on like Time Warner and you can watch them. You don't really you can make that choice. And I love that you can make that choice where like, all right, this is a movie I want to see in the theaters. This is a movie I could probably just watch on TV, I just love that option because not all movies really need to be seen in theaters. I mean, the theater experience helps. It enhances to a certain sense. But a lot of these movies that are shot nowadays, they're shot like they're television anyway, because they know that's how you're going to be watching them.
Yeah.
You know what actually is? I love movie theaters that give you the opposite option of movies that I might have originally seen by renting that I now want to see on theaters. And I feel like that's the one thing New York kind of doesn't do as well as other parts of the country. Like San Francisco has the Castro Theater, which is another like gorgeous Wurlitzer theater. But they always play movies that are like, classics. And that's so cool. And like, it's one thing to always have like, I don't know, The Shining playing or something like, you don't, how many times are you going to see The Shining like on theaters in 1 year? But like, I love how the most of the stuff that they put out is like just older stuff or classic stuff or things that you've always wanted to see on a big screen. I remember actually when I moved to San Francisco originally, they were doing an Al Pacino week. And I like canceled plans. I like was
nice, yeah.
I was so excited for this. And they were doing like back to back. It was like Panic in Needle Park and like Scarecrow or like gosh, I'm trying to remember. It's like everything, like Dog Day Afternoon and like, all these great Al Pacino movies that I remember I literally left. I was trying to like Craigslist move in somewhere and I went for an interview and I was like, yeah, I have a meeting at 7. Like I got to get out of here. Like,
yeah, I mean, that's the thing about the movie theater. There's nothing more exciting than like that thing. And it only happens in very large, like metropolitan areas. I remember, I don't know when this was, like maybe 10 years ago, but they had at MoMA, they had for like a month or two this gigantic Roberto Rossellini sort of retrospective. And then in Queens at the Museum of Moving Image, they had this like enormous, first of its kind in America, Jacques Rivette retrospective. And like I remember like, getting both the newspaper in my hand and being like, what the fuck am I going to do? And I had to work, you know what I mean? So I was like dashing from MoMA to Queens and just, having like this spreadsheet of like, what is the most imperative thing to be seeing on this day? And if it was at my house, I wouldn't be as excited. I wouldn't be going through the sort of motions. You wouldn't be sitting in a theater waiting for it to start and checking your watch and, reading up on the sort of what this movie is. And, you kind of get into the spirit of things a little bit more in the movie theater. When it's at your house, you have a computer over here. You can start the movie. You can look at the computer, things like that, you know what I mean? And take away from the movie theater experience.
Yeah.
But obviously, there's pros and cons. I have a kid now, and if I get out to the movie theater, it's like, it is a rare treat. And I'm always like, I get like a text from the babysitter being like, your kid's crying a lot, and I'm like, what am I going to do,
So you're the one texting in the movie theater.
Yeah, that's me. That's me. If I lived in Florida, I might get shot, But, the movie theater has definitely its things. But like, to your point, I think that it's interesting. I'd rather see an old movie in the movie theater than a new one. Definitely. I'd rather see an old movie than a new one anyway.
I would also recommend if you're looking to like be maybe like forced to be exposed to other things, I'm on all of these mailing lists for like, I love Museum of the Moving Image. They're so wonderful. That's like one of my favorite museums in
wonderful place,
in New York. Oh yeah. And I'm on their mailing list for all these screenings and Lincoln Center does a lot of also the retrospectives, and BAM is pretty good about it too.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually, I've definitely just gotten an email with like a screen cap of something and thought that looks really cool, and just like, go to the theater and see it.
I think the best theater actually in New York, now that I'm thinking about it, is the Anthology, without a doubt, on Second and Second.
Oh, sure.
I mean,
they're great. Yeah.
They play the craziest shit in there, man. Like, you go see Warhol movie. I've met Abel Ferrara in that theater, and I've seen him lucidly talking about things, and I've seen him like out of his mind, like, you know what I mean, stumbling around, and like, I wouldn't trade that for anything, you know what I mean? And I've seen my friends' movies premiere there, and I've seen
my movie played there. Yeah,
did it? Yeah. I mean, like, so it's like a beautiful thing where it's like, it's the true sort of equalizer where all cinema is equal. Like, you go see a Jean Renoir, from 1930 there, or you can go see the new Cody Clark movie. You know
That's
what I
right.
mean? And like, it's like
for one night only.
Yeah, but it makes you feel like very much, kind of like humbled, but also sort of like proud at the same time.
Yeah, it's a good place. Like, that was a great theater experience to be able to see my movie on that big screen. And I even noticed things about the movie watching it in the theater that I wouldn't have noticed otherwise. And people that went to that screening, people that had watched it, like half watched it on Vimeo kind of thing while they were doing other stuff, and complained like, yeah, nothing really happens in the movie. Like when they saw it in the theaters, they were like, oh my God, so much is happening.
Right.
Just because it like you're seeing it so big, and you're seeing how much every little thing means, and you're forced to connect with it. Whereas like, if you're half watching it on your laptop and it's already kind of a slow movie, it's kind of, it has no chance of succeeding.
I saw Playtime by Tati in theaters, and I don't think there's any other way to see. Like, I would have just fallen asleep.
That's a really good point.
Did you see 70 millimeter print of it?
Yeah, that was it was wonderknow that was
that's
like
a hard movie to watch at home.
Oh
and
God, yeah.
have the right experience with.
Yeah, to see that. Yeah, I mean,
I haven't seen it in theaters, but I know exactly what you're talking about. It's a really good point.
Yeah, and I think the thing with being a filmmaker in these times is like, you have to betray yourself almost in a way, because the way I'm assuming you're working, and like I think the way that a lot of sort of intelligent filmmakers work, is they try to sort of cut out sort of the bullshit that, it's like when you make a movie, you come with all this sort of bullshit from like pop culture or movies behind you, and you're trying to cut to the heart of what you want to do with a movie and be true to yourself. And when you see something on a screen, you're looking at this movie, you're editing it, and you're backing up, you're going forward, you're backing up, and you see these gestures that mean something to you, and you're like, okay, that gesture says everything. I can cut out the next, 60 lines of dialogue because this gesture is what it means.
Right.
But you say that, you show it to somebody, they're watching on Vimeo, and bam, they missed the gesture.
Exactly. And then they're off.
It's completely off, you know? So when they see it in the anthology, it brings that sort of attention back, and it brings that.
Exactly. And even sound design too.
Yeah.
Like coming at you in a certain visceral way. I think the theater is the way to see it how the director sees it.
Yeah.
Because when you're sitting there and you're looking at it on your screen and you're editing it, it's really big in your mind,
Yeah.
You're looking for those exact moments if you're editing it well. And, that's really what you want to do is you want to distill whatever you created to the moments that really need to be there.
There's a certain thing about anthology that's almost like up to you, really.
Exactly. They were playing like porno like a couple months back.
Yeah.
And they'll play like, they'll play fucking anything as long as it's interesting.
Yeah,
I saw some weird Western called Run Home Slow. Where Frank
I love
Zappa.
that fucking movie. Yeah,
you saw it?
yeah,
Oh, man. Yeah, they were playing that in Anthology. I was like, what is this?
Yeah, Zappa did the theme for it, right?
I think we've come to the conclusion that Anthology is the greatest theater in New York. And I'm glad I wasn't the one who came to that conclusion because people would think I was biased because my film played there. I'm glad it was Ned over here pointing that out. I think that's safe to say. I think it is the best theater in New York City.
Yeah.
If you really think about it, if you really put it all together. All right. We came to that conclusion. All right. We're going to take a short break and we'll be back to answer some questions. So stick around. And now, a movie joke by comedian Anthony Kapfer.
I'm writing a screenplay. It's a prequel to the movie RoboCop. I call it Regular Cop.
This has been a movie joke by comedian Anthony Kapfer. Visit him at anthonykapfer.com. Kapfer. And we're back. Now we're going to open up the mailbag and see what the people on the internet are asking us today. Here's one from Eric. Would you rather watch a Darren Aronofsky movie based on the board game Connect 4, or would you rather watch a Wes Anderson movie based on the board game Dizzy Dizzy Dinosaur? What do you guys think?
What's Dizzy Dizzy Dinosaur?
I never heard of it either. I was hoping,
but I would pick.
never heard of that one either, right?
No.
You just go for Anderson.
Yeah, because I like the dinosaur idea.
I like the idea of like claymation. I hope he goes like Life Aquatic with it, like claymation dinosaurs or something.
I'm going to go for Aronofsky just because I think that could be the most pretentious film. And I'm like super into how he can make Connect 4 like pie or something, like.
Yeah, I'm imagining something like The Fountain where like it's just giant pieces in space like floating around
slowly.
and aligning. Well, like if you think about it, he did a lot of that board game Go in Pi, the board game he was playing with like his math teacher and whatever. That's kind of like Connect 4, You got like little circles and come on.
He already made the movie.
It's closer than
It's close.
Wes Anderson is to the dinosaur thing. I would go for Connect 4 if I liked most of his movies. I love The Wrestler. I like Pi. The other ones I can't really get down with. So I'm going to go Wes Anderson.
I gotta go with. I need to see a cast list. I think of either of them before I can get.
Well, I think
that.
the Wes Anderson cast list.
Right.
Let's be honest.
Bill Murray in this one.
Yeah, I think Bill Murray, all those guys, Owen Wilson, Jason Schwartzman, and the list goes on. I think they're in Dizzy Dizzy Dinosaur.
Yeah.
Who's in Connect 4 though? Who's in that one?
Liam Neeson.
Jennifer Connelly, maybe.
Yeah. Anyway, that was an alright question.
Pretty good.
That was pretty conceptual. All right, next one. Shane asks, why does every movie have music in it all the time?
I say that Shane should go check out Diary of a Country Priest. And
Yeah, I think
what he's drinking.
Yeah, we covered that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the word? The diegetic or
Diegetic.
Diegetic music. You know what that is, Jenna?
No.
It's when music plays over the movie. But it's not like oh no, wait, did I get it backwards?
No, non-diegetic. Now I'm a little unsure.
Yeah, one of them is music that's just overlaid, And the other one is music where it figures into the plot. So like somebody's listening to the radio, so a song is playing. Otherwise, it's just music. Just like Wes Anderson would be a good example of music that's just overlaid.
I like that. I mean, it depends. It can be done
it
horribly.
works or it doesn't work. You know? That's what it comes down to.
It's about setting mood,
But
Our
boy Shane wants to know why.
Because music is emotional to most people, and movies are meant to evoke some sort of emotion on top of proving a point or proving something, and visual. It's all the senses, man. You got to get everything involved.
Yeah, music's like a shorthand. It's like Wes Anderson kind of uses it as a shorthand where like if he, like a lot of his vibe, you can't really break it apart from the music that he uses, like the Rolling Stones deep cuts or like, whatever stuff he brings up, like the Mark Mothersbaugh score. Like it just ties so much into the experience. You can't really separate it. Like Scorsese too, his early stuff. You can't really separate the music from the movies.
It's like anything else. I think when it's done, well, there's a reason. There's an essential reason. Like, like Hitchcock or something like that. Like Psycho, could that music, be any better or be with? That movie could not be without the Herman score.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But to your point of a shorthand, I think that it can be also sort of laziness too. Like, slap some strings over that and you'll know that it's sort of supposed to well up with emotion.
And it always kind of sticks out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
When it's done like that, when it's just wrong.
I think that when you can find good horror movies and bad horror movies, the bad ones rely so heavily on music.
Yeah.
That's usually
and that was
crappy.
That was a problem with like the later Kevin Smith stuff. I remember Clerks 2 had like this like like kind of like peppy kind of
like library stock tracks.
Yeah, like music overlaid underneath like what they were talking about. And I was like, man, did you even see Clerks?
Right.
Like, Kevin, did you watch that one? Because that wasn't this like whatsoever. This is supposed to be Clerks 2, right? Maybe you could go back to like how you handled sound in that first one and carry that over because that's part of the Clerks vibe. And that, like, I remember that stuck out like a sore thumb when he did that. All right, this one's from Joe, and he wants to be credited as Joe Hanging Long. That's how he wants. Hey, it's his request. And his question is, where do you think the most promising comedies will come from in the near future? People, groups, writers, directors, actors. What's the future of funny, so to speak?
I'm actually getting really sick of... I think it's also sort of a shorthand as the internet funny versus actual people who sit down and write. Like how you got so many brilliant actors and writers and just people from something like Second City when it first started, whereas we have our internet celebrities and some of them are wonderful. I love Andy Samberg. Like The Lonely Island is hilarious to me. I love all of his stuff. But, there's a lot of that reliance on inside jokes that we're all meant to be in on because we all have the internet and stuff like that. And that's boring to me. It's just it doesn't take talent to have an inside joke.
Right. It's not the same witticism of like an Albert Brooks or something where like you got, or even Woody Allen, where you have like this distinct vibe that is created on the page, so to speak. Whereas like with a lot of these new comedies, the distinct vibe is in the pre-established sort of connection. Like with Andy Samberg or whatever, or any example where like they have these pre-established audiences and then it's just the fact that they're there, that's part of the joke already. And that, I think Tim and Eric, to their credit, I love those guys, but that's a problem that they fall into too, where like when they did their movie, $1 billion movie, I didn't really like that one too much, even though I liked their show a lot. And I think the problem I had with it, because it just felt like they were there, it didn't feel like they were, all right, let's make a movie, let's write a script, let's do something. It was just, it's Tim and Eric's movie.
Right, the joke is that it's Tim and Eric making a movie, isn't
exactly.
Isn't that funny?
And like it's hard to sustain a whole movie on that, I think.
It's funny that you bring up Andy Samberg, because I was flipping through stuff last night, and I just wanted something sort of stupid that I could just kind of get down with and not think about much. And
Please let it be Hot Rod.
It was.
I love Hot Rod.
I've never seen it, and I just shut it off because I was like, well, it just seems like the joke is like this guy is sort of like, that's his character, like, oh, he's emotionally fragile, and like, like I was just like, I don't know. And to bring up something like Woody Allen, like a guy like that was like a hardcore joke writer, you know, like he spent his days like crafting a joke. I think the same can be said for Norm Macdonald. Like, you know, there are guys that like really have a lot of reverence for the joke. And I think a lot of these new guys, they don't know about jokes really. They don't give a shit.
They don't seem like writers in that same sense. Like Norm Macdonald, there's no reason why he can't have a career like Albert Brooks or something like that. You know, and Dirty Work, you know, it kind of failed on some level, but had this cult response. And he could have gone down that direction. And Adam Carolla is a good example, too. His movie, The Hammer. It's not really specifically a comedy. Did you guys see that?
No.
Ever?
No.
It kind of takes you by surprise because it's really like, it's like a really good sports, like boxing movie that isn't reliant on the tropes of that. Like, it's just like a guy at a boxing gym and like a younger guy at a boxing gym. You know, it has that kind of like simple vibe to it. And it almost feels like Albert Brooks doing like a small boxing movie, you know, and it has that great, weird, you haven't seen this before, but you've seen it in other places, but it's just gelling together right vibe to it. And you're right. A lot of these new guys, it's not coming from like being a comedic writer, you know, and a lot of these guys have writing jobs on like TV shows or whatever, but that's like a whole different thing. You know, when you're writing a movie, you really need that foundation of constructing a movie. It's almost like writing a movie and writing a funny movie is exactly the same thing because the jokes should be coming from the story.
That's what I was going to say is that I think comedy fails when it ends up being too the culture of comedy. You know, if it's just like, if you're just constantly going back to other comedy to make new comedy, it's not as funny, or if it is funny, it's just not brilliant. Like Hot Rod, like is the most stupidest movie, and I think it's hilarious. And part of what I think is funny is just the idea in the movie, like, is about basically what's funny is that you picture the guys sitting down writing this movie, saying, let's have him do like a punch dance montage and then fall down the cliff for 5 minutes. No, let's make it 10. And then you're watching it and you're thinking of that, and that's what makes you laugh in that movie, or it doesn't at all.
Right, there's like a self-awareness aspect.
It's that self-awareness. But, I mean, I don't think that they're geniuses. Whereas someone like, say, Stephen Colbert, I think, is a genius because he's basically, he's pulling from different source material, and he creates comedy not from comedy, from politics, which I guess is arguably comedy, but I think that everyone who's considered like a great comic genius is usually coming from a different background, like music, movies, other types of art, or just life. And that's when it gets really funny. Yeah,
I think the comedy world has this insular quality to it, where there's almost like a self-sufficiency to it. It's very incestuous. That's the appearance where like everybody knows everybody. It seems like all the LA comedians, they all kind of pretty much, anybody that's successful, they all pretty much know each other.
They root for each other as well, right?
And it's very self-supportive where it's like, like everybody's always in the same stuff. And it just seems like there isn't the outlier quality that really pushes something forward. So I think to answer his question, it has to come from outliers that aren't people that are doing improv and stand-up and stuff necessarily, but are just funny people and have funny things to say, and maybe are just coming at it from like a screenwriter background. I
agree. It's going to come from outside of the culture.
I think that Stanley Kubrick could probably be considered a comic genius. You know what I mean? If you look at it a certain way, like Dr. Strangelove or something like that. You know what I mean? Like this guy was just a Look magazine photographer. And
exactly.
His movies, all of them are really funny. Like if you think, if you get into it, like if you look at it like that.
Hitchcock too, to bring him up again, he's a good example of like a guy that has a very distinct sense of humor, and you're not seeing him at the Laugh Factory, right. But like his humor, if you allow it to come through, his humor is definitely there.
Sure.
And a lot of these directors, Martin Scorsese,
yeah, Polanski,
Louis C.K. Somebody asked him what like his favorite comedy movies were. He was like Raging Bull, Goodfellas. He was like, these are the movies that really make me laugh hard. And, they really are comedies if you allow them to be. Like, just the way that people talk to each other is just so funny.
Yeah, he's like, you bring the steak over here, you're going to overcook it. That's the first scene in the movie. And I'm dying laughing at this guy because I know exactly who he is.
Yeah.
And I know exactly why he's saying that.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious. And it's Robert De Niro, like, to bring it all on top of it, And like you can't really do that in a comedy sketch for some reason, you know? Even that's the first scene. And
that's why it was so weird when everyone was surprised that De Niro took like a comedic turn. It was like, did you watch Raging Bull? Did you watch like these movies?
I remember watching.
He's a funny guy.
I remember watching Goodfellas not long ago, and he's talking about how Henry Hill is cheating on his wife, and Henry Hill's wife is coming over to talk to De Niro's wife, and De Niro's like, I can't have this. I can't do it. I can't have it. I can't do it. And it's like, that's the funniest thing. Like you can't write that. Like you can't write that as a joke. You know what I mean? Like that's and that's what his character is, and that's what his character would do.
And comedy is supposed to catch you off guard, and the best way for it to catch you off guard in movies, I think, is to come from a movie where you don't expect it whatsoever. Like when you're bowled over laughing on a line in a movie where you didn't think that you were going into like a comedy movie. Like it's not like when you're sitting down in the theater and you're like, all right, new Will Ferrell movie. I know what I'm getting. Let's laugh. And then you're like, oh, wait, you know, it's the same kind of thing again.
It's exactly what you were saying about the comedy. People go in there thinking that, you know, this is what I want it to be.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, you're not looking for the comedy.
Yeah, that was the success of that movie, is it kind of broke that mold. And I think the filmmaker, Rick Alverson, I hope I got his name right. I think it's Rick. He was able to use those guys in a way that they probably wouldn't have necessarily been able to use themselves if they had just came up with even the same idea.
Yeah.
You know, he was able to construct it in a way where they were really being used as actors, and they were able to bring their talents but have it work in a story that tied it all together and had like a deeper meaning. And I always love that when you see like comedic actors be able to make like a dramatic turn. Perfect example, Adam Sandler, Punch Drunk Love, was able to be used in a way that wasn't dissimilar from stuff that he's done with like playing with rage and anger and meekness before. But the construct of that movie, just Paul Thomas Anderson was almost sitting with you going through the old Adam Sandler movies and being like, no, look at this moment. You know, look at what he's capable of right here in this moment in Happy Gilmore or Billy Madison or something. It felt like he was touring you through what this guy was capable of that he wasn't necessarily able to do on his own. And that's always great to see that sort of comedic actor be reinterpreted.
I'm on the fence about that one. I really unless it's good. If it's good, then like I'm there. You know, Jim Carrey in Eternal Sunshine was wonderful.
It doesn't always work.
I think Will Ferrell needs to stick to comedy. I know he's gone to a couple things. I don't know. It depends.
Yeah, I think it just depends. I think that Punch Drunk Love is great, and I think that it's just as funny as a couple other Sandler movies, you know, and like, you know, even a movie like Magnolia that I don't really care for that much. It's a heavy drama, and you're like just watching it like, Jesus Christ, this is heavy, you know. But there's this one scene where they're doing the game show, and Louis Guzman, is that his name?
Yeah.
And he's sitting there, he's like, you know, I know things about like milk and like dairy, and you're like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Oh my God, that's a perfect example.
You know, and it's like, dude, are you kidding? And it's almost like in the like back of the stereo surround channel that he's saying this shit.
It's true. Those are the lines that like I'll pick out of movies, and they're like my favorite comedic lines.
Oh, it's so
you know,
funny.
I'll go to those quicker than I'll go to like Talladega Nights or something like that. You know, I'll go to these dramatic movies where there's just like this one funny little bit in it, because it's just it's like the whole movie's set up where you're just completely stone faced, and then there's a line comes out of nowhere and just jars you.
So good.
And Boogie Nights has that too. You know, there's those dark moments in Boogie Nights. And then like the John C. Reilly stuff, which is really just kind of predated his total comedic resurgence.
Definitely.
You know, he saw the comedy in John C. Reilly before pretty much anybody else.
Definitely.
And there's some great moments with him in that.
Even in Hot 8, when he's talking about the pack of matches going off in his pocket or whatever, it's like, that's great, you know? And like, and Boogie Nights is the best example of it, I think, because you got that. And Philip Seymour Hoffman comes in and he's looking ridiculous, and it's like, this is hilarious.
Yep.
And then he goes off into his car and starts crying because he tried to make out with Dirk Diggler, and you're like, oh, you feel this guy, and he's just like shattering.
Yeah.
But because he was funny like that, it reinforces it so much more.
Well, yeah, they work together hand in hand. You need that tragedy aspect to comedy, whatever you're doing. Like, everybody always talks about that whole tragedy aspect to comedy.
Right.
And where better a place for that than like a dramatic movie, for that to just come out organically, not this arbitrarily imposed tragedy when you're like telling like a one-liner.
Right.
But like this natural tragedy that you're witnessing, and then here comes this funny aspect.
I think Shakespeare was a big proponent of that.
Yeah.
He knew about that stuff.
There you go. Good old Billy.
Bill.
Shout out to Bill. So I hope that answered the question. I think that was a really good question, actually.
Yeah,
that could have been a whole episode in and of itself. All right, guys. That was fun, right?
It was.
Yeah.
You guys have a good time?
I did.
You're going to come back, right, Ned?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be good to have you. And Jenna, you're coming back, right?
I have nothing else to do.
Yeah, well, we know that. But. All right, guys. Thank you for listening. Be sure to rate us on iTunes and leave comments and stuff. That really helps out as far as the ranking on there. It's this whole thing where, like, if you want people to be able to look up the word movies or film or whatever and see what your great podcasts such as this one, you need like 5 stars and all sorts of stuff to just bump it up in the rankings. And it's this very simple thing that you can do if you like the show that will really help us out and help more people be able to know about us.
And leave us some mailbag questions on our Facebook.
Yeah. Leave us some on Facebook, emails, whatever. Just get to us. Contact us. We're on Twitter. We're on all of it. You can find us. We're not hiding.
Smug Film.
That's right. Smugfilm.com, right?
Do it.
Do it.
We love you.
All right. Goodbye, guys. Have a good day or night. See ya.